welcome to Talk 90s to Me, where the loneliness is killing me, but I must confess, I still believe. Why? Because so many of you lovely listeners have joined our Patreon, a nifty concept which means that if you donate around £4 a month, you get some excellent extras, such as special episodes and show-off down the pub merch. Plus, you get to enjoy the smuggery of knowing that all the money you give goes into paying the people who make the show. Not just me, but fab producer Liam, editors Tom, Robin and Simon, and camera tweaker Chris. So why not search up Talk 90s to Me Patreon, that's Patreon, or follow the link in the show notes to find out more. Now on with the show. This is Talk 90s to Me, where we're in our school uniform, but we've tied the shirt above our belly button, we've put pink pom-poms in our plaits, and we're about to do a backflip while singing one of the best pop songs of all time, just because we can. I'm Miranda Sawyer, and this week we are talking Britney Spears, because there is possibly nothing greater to talk about. And with me, to give me a sign, is Jennifer Otter Bickerdike, podcaster, author, rock and roll connoisseur, and writer of many brilliant books, including the frankly amazing bestseller, Being Britney. Hello, Jen.
Hello, gorgeous. What a fabulous intro, and the singing skills. I mean, I hope you're available for bat mitzvahs around the world with that.
I am indeed, and also available for backflips, but only if you chuck me backwards. Okay, so look, we are here to talk 1990s Britney, which is an immensely joyful thing, I have to say, because essentially she comes to the world's attention around 1999. So what I would like to do is start with how the world first saw her, which is with the video for Baby One More Time. Can you remember that video? Can you remember seeing it?
I remember seeing it. I was working in the music business in Los Angeles, and I cannot tell you what a void the death of Kurt Cobain created. And the reason you're like, how does that tie into Britney? There was just people being the music industry were trying to find things to fill that void.
Yeah, that's why Britpop happened. So everything came over here, and then there's not so much going on. There are things going on in America, but maybe not as big.
Exactly. I mean, that's when I got into all the music that you are an absolute genius about, which is the Britpop. But you have this late 90s phenomena with Backstreet or BSB and NSYNC and all that kind of thing. And Britney is on the forefront of that with the Baby One More Time video. And it seemed like it came out of nowhere. It wasn't like a slow build. You have some of these artists, like someone called Taylor Swift that you might have heard of, where she was making the rounds at the record company, and you'd known her, and you saw like a slow kind of buildup of career. Britney wasn't like that. It's just Britney seemed to drop out of nowhere, and suddenly she was on Total Request Live. That video was in high rotation, and I think the reason was it just hit a zeitgeist. It was a moment when people were looking for something to grab onto. Yeah. It was. Again, this might sound obvious. It was this weird kind of straddling of the digital was starting to come up, but it hadn't totally taken over. Physical records were still the main medium. When I say records, I mean CDs, and MTV was still incredibly important. So all those things, I think, kind of just culminated in her being the phenomenon that she was.
Yeah, definitely. And that video was like kind of unbelievable, really, because if you think about, like, say 2 years before we'd got the Spice Girls, so that like that indicates to the pop market that the paying audience is interested in young women, which I always think they're a bit funny about. And then Britney comes around and it's like becomes really, really obvious. I'm going to do some stats and then we can talk about the song and the video a bit more, right? So it's released in September 98 in the US, and it's her debut single. It basically chops the charts in over 20 countries, including the US, including the UK. It earns quintuple triple platinum. It's one of the best-selling singles of all time, with over 10 million copies sold. That's sold. That's not downloaded. That's sold. That's physical things that you buy. Do you know what I mean? It's been featured on, all greatest hits. In 2020, Rolling Stone, which we will talk about, named Baby One More Time as the greatest debut single of all time. The thing that kind of links what you've just said about Britpop and the void, I quite like, is so basically, it's released in the UK in February 1999, on February the 27th, and it has 2 weeks at number one, and it becomes the best-selling single of the year in the UK. And what does it keep off number one? Do you know?
I don't know. I don't. Tell me.
It's Tender, which is the lead singer from Blur's album 13.
Oh.
So it's
okay.
like, it's a real shift across. Because obviously 13 is not like Britpop, but it's like a bit where Britpop starts absolutely crumbling. And here is Britney, and also Eminem in a bit, like, to say this is the new world. It's like, it's an amazing success.
Yeah, I mean, you and I could do a whole nother podcast on this, and that is in America, we, you cannot also, I mean, one of my personal heroes and a friend of both of ours is Shirley Manson from Garbage. And you have that whole Lilith Fair thing, which is a festival that is mostly, it was started by Sarah McLachlan. It was all about how women on the charts in America, there was usually room for one woman to be on the music charts on any radio station, right?
Yeah.
And so they created this whole festival, Lilith Fair, so that women could be, there could be like tons of women on the same festival. And you kind of go, this is the weird thing, Miranda. You go from having Shirley Manson and like lover or hater, you have Courtney Love, Justine from Elastica and all the great, Echo Belly, all these fabulous women from here that are powerful and are owning their own agency, it seems. And then you have the Spice Girls, which is almost like, they're almost like the bridge between those two because they're girl power, not woman power.
Yeah.
They're sexy and cool. And I love the Spice Girls. That's no shade on the Spice Girls. But Britney is such a short amount of time. It's such a complete difference from just, I think Garbage, the first Garbage record came out, I think in 95-ish, that time period. In less than 5 years, you have such a huge difference.
Yeah.
And to me, that is, what happened there? Did something go wrong or did something go right?
Yeah, it's really interesting because we can analyze, as people always do, and it's you have yourself do in your book, you can analyze Britney both ways. But genuinely, I think that both of us want to celebrate Britney because especially at this point, she's something incredibly worth celebrating. So she has this song. This song comes out of Max Martin. Do you want to talk about Max Martin first?
I mean, what a hit factory is his. He and Britney go on to collaborate on a ton of different songs. And he starts off being like a heavy metal person. Like the world of pop is not his foray in the first instance.
He's obsessed with Kiss, isn't he?
Yes, he's obsessed. I mean, who's not, right?
But he says it's the only thing he listens to. It's Kiss.
I mean, who doesn't? I don't know what you find so funny about that. No, but I love that about him. I love that he is just his own character, and that is, I think it brings though that the discipline you see with Britney. That's something. There's so many things about Britney that it isn't just about the timing. It isn't just about the cultural zeitgeist. I think a lot of it, like you said, has to do with her in particular. Because one thing that Max has said about Britney is when she goes in to record Baby One More Time, she would not stop to eat. She would not stop to sleep. She wanted to hit it perfectly.
Yeah.
And that might sound weird now because, you can just, even then you're kind of at the beginning of the auto-tune world, but she didn't want to auto-tune. She wanted it to be a perfect artistic piece. And she's 16, 17 years old. So to have that kind of discipline and training that early on, and also I think to recognize that he could be someone for her that would be valuable and a fire starter in a lot of ways, I think is huge for a kid to have that emotional intelligence. And that's something I think people don't necessarily think when they think Britney Spears, but it's incredible when you look back on it for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And also what he says, which I think is really interesting, is that he doesn't think people realize how involved that she is in the studio. So there's always an idea, especially because she's so young, that she's just given this song. She sings it, thumbs up, well done, Max Martin, for giving her the song, which notoriously was offered to TLC, to Robin, which I didn't realize, to Five. And they all say no. And because they're slightly worried about the connotations of domestic violence, because Hit Me, he's Swedish and he thinks it's about like phoning somebody up, like hit me baby one more time is call me on the phone. But obviously in America, they worry about these things. But what he says is that when you work with her, she'll come up with a melody, she'll come up with lyrics, she comes up with the oh baby baby bit. She works for 8 hours, as you said, like absolutely solid. And they're like, do you want a break? And she's like, okay, maybe, after 8 hours. And they stop to eat and she eats 3 burgers.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's so hungry.
She's so hungry.
Yeah.
It's such, if you think about a teenager, that is so, it's, I mean, I'd be like, where's the food? Like, give it to me right now. But to be that disciplined and that focused is absolutely incredible. And also to feel both confident enough to say, this is what I think could add to it that would make it a great song and also and applicable and appealing to people my age.
Yeah.
I mean, I barely have that bravery now at 53, let alone as a teenager. So I think that, and these are the kind of things, these little bits and pieces that even though they're not said or celebrated, especially like you said, when you look back, I wonder if that's one of the reasons that teenage girls connected with her so much is because she didn't talk about agency. She had agency in that way. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Because also there's a lovely little detail that she says, which is before she goes in to sing Baby One More Time, she's listening to Soft Cell's Tainted Love because she thinks the vocals on that are so sexy. It's Mark Almond's vocals, obviously. And she thinks they're so sexy and interesting. And that's what she wants to bring. So she's got kind of influences that I just think are never acknowledged. But I think you're right. Teenage girls are the most sensitive to pop music also, always. They understand something about performers, especially young performers, that I think, obviously, older execs just don't understand at all. And that's really epitomized by the video, actually.
Yeah.
Because she contributes loads to the video. The video is directed by this guy called Nigel Dick, and he is...
Best name ever. Sorry, I have to say it. I love it. I remember when I was writing the book, I was just like, oh, child, no. And I was like, oh, child, yes.
So
fabulous.
Good old Dickie Nige. He had directed Band-Aids, Do You Know It's Christmas, Guns N' Roses, Welcome to the Jungle, and Wonderwall by Oasis. So he's like done a lot. So he comes along, he hears the song, he thinks, oh, it's a pop song. And he has this idea, which, I mean, just sounds rubbish. It was for... Sorry, but it's true. It sounds terrible. It's for Britney Spears to be animated as though she's in outer space and then lands on Mars, right? And basically, he tells, or, this is relayed to Britney, and she goes to the label bosses, this is horrible, this is cheesy, it sounds like there's Power Rangers. Kids my age will not relate. She knows it. And she basically says, this is going to appeal to 4-year-olds. I want to appeal to my age, which is like 16. So this is a quote. I had this idea where we're in school and bored out of our minds and we have Catholic uniforms on. I said, why don't we have knee highs and tie the shirts up, knee high socks, and tie the shirts up to give it a little attitude. The concept was kind of my idea and it takes place at a school. The kids can't wait to get out of school. We all get out and we just have a bunch of fun. It's her. 100%. She decides it.
Yeah. I mean, that just takes me back. I mean, there's so many things to say about that. Like that, her particular look, I don't know about you, but I was constantly in battle with Diane Otter about my skirts being shorter, the breastises being more on display. It's every parent's nightmare. And I think that it just is so perfection because again, it is, you're coming into your sexuality. You want to be seen as hot. And it just captures that teenage girl attitude so perfectly. And one of the things that I love about this video is that the entire wardrobe comes from Kmart. And Kmart, for those that don't know, was kind of, I think you describe it as like,
it's like
Primark.
Woolies or Primark, isn't it?
Yeah, it'd be like Primark. And the reason that's a bullet point is, oh my God, Miranda, I'm going back to the 80s right now, but I remember trying to dress like the Go-Go's or trying to, wait for it, dress like Sheena Easton. And I couldn't
You couldn't get the hair.
Oh my God, I was watching the strut video the other day and I'm like, oh, thank God I couldn't get that. That would have been a hard no. But the thing is, you just couldn't get those outfits. Like you could not walk as a kid into the mall was your main place to get clothes. Obviously, in California, you couldn't walk into the mall and get Cyndi Lauper's ensemble. No. And that's a huge thing with Britney is you can watch that video and you can literally go at a price point that you can use your allowance or your babysitting money. You can go buy that exact outfit that the kids in that video are wearing.
Yeah.
That's a huge thing. That is like, I can be just like them. So it makes it creates an accessibility that I think was so important for her and her career. And that's what really kind of created that fan base that she's carried to this day in a lot of ways.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, nothing on that video costs more than $17, not an item of clothing. And it's interesting to me, my daughter is 15 and she went to a Halloween party dressed as Britney Spears from
Which
Baby
era?
One More Time. Like, what, that one? Exactly that.
Was she? Okay, yeah.
Because it's the easiest thing ever. You just need pom-poms in your hair. You need to tie your shirt. Like, you get a little grey skirt. There you are. You're Britney. Like, it's easy. And everyone knows it.
Do you know what also that you just made me really think too is that it is an omnipresent look and feel.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Because all girls do it when they're at school. Every girl rolls her skirt up.
Yeah, and it's very dated, but it's not dated at all. That's what's fabulous about it. So that makes perfect sense. I mean, I if she would have gone as Slave for You, I would have insisted on seeing pictures, but
yeah, but that one's just standard, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's another point that you make in your book, which I think is really interesting, because we are going to go back and talk about what she did before becoming kind of Britney as we know her. And that's that when she was in the Mickey Mouse Club as a presenter, there is a 3-minute routine that Mickey Mouse Club dancers and singers do, performed to Think by Aretha Franklin. And it's Christina Aguilera who dances the lead. But essentially, they do a similar kind of dance routine in school uniforms. But obviously, as it's Disney, they're not kind of tied up or anything like that. So it's like her background at Mickey Mouse Club is then used in Hit Me Baby One More Time.
100%. And I think you could say, oh, she's pinching it from there, but I have to.
It's her discipline. Yeah, surely.
Yeah, it's her discipline. It got drilled into her. And, I was a cheerleader at Del Mar Junior High School. Santa Cruz represent 8th grade. And if I had a couple pints down at the pub, I mean, I'll be like, it was one routine was When the Going Get Tough by Billy Ocean. And this was like the first move. Do, 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 do,
You're
do,
waving
do.
your hands out. Yeah. If only I can describe it in audio.
Yeah. I'm doing moves. But I can only, so I'm sure that these moves were drilled into my head. And I'm sure with Britney, that she could do those in her sleep.
Yeah.
And so it just shows again that discipline that she had even as a young kid. And to know that and if you watch Mickey Mouse Club or any of those kind of Fame or any of that kind of thing, to be able to remember and know that routine is one that's going to work, that also takes a certain kind of talent because they're doing lots of different routines and motifs. To know that was the one that's probably going to hit, no pun intended, is huge.
Yeah. And also you make a point in your book where it's filmed. So where the actual school is. This is Venice High. What is the significance of Venice High?
Venice High is where Grease was filmed and based. So there's this fantastic, almost heritage vibe to the whole thing as well. And I didn't know that until I was writing the book. And I thought, wow, like it's weird because you think that they would have, I think the Britney phenomena was so massive, they didn't have to lean into that. But looking back on it, it just is so perfect in terms of her being in one person, both Sandys, if you want to use the Grease thing.
Yeah,
and
that's
also,
true, yeah.
Yeah. And also her being, I mean, Grease is the all-American film. It's kind of one of that canon of cinema that when you think of the perfect kind of capsule of that moment in time. And in a lot of ways, Britney is that exact thing. She is the American dream come to fruition. So it is perfect that it was shot there.
Yeah, and it's got amazing history because it's not only for used for Grease and then for Britney's song as well, but it's used for A Nightmare on Elm Street, American History X, and Heathers. I mean,
wow. I forgot about Heathers. Oh my God, you've read my book more recently than I have, girlfriend. I love it. I love it. All the info. I'm like, God, I wrote that.
You did write it. You did. This is why I recommend it all. So what happens to Britney is she brings this song out. It is absolutely huge everywhere. It appeals to teenagers, and teenagers understand dressing in that manner, I think, and they're dressing in that manner to be kind of cool and sexy. They're not looking for the attentions of grown-up men. They just aren't. If you know any teenagers, they do not care. They're looking for the attention of their peers, right? But that is not, because of the nature of the music industry, because of the nature of the media, that is not necessarily what you get. What you get is a whole load of adults either perving over her or telling her that this is, incorrect. And what she says about this, I think this is really interesting. She says, there are so many other teenagers out there that dress more provocatively than I do, and no one says anything about them. I'm wearing a sports bra under the shirt. All I did was tie up my shirt. I didn't do anything. Sure, I'm wearing thigh highs, but kids wear this. It's the style. Have you seen MTV? All those girls in thongs? Oh. And it's really interesting to me because teenagers generally don't want to be messed around by adults. They're just not interested in adults. And adults constantly monitor them, constantly crash into their world. And she's offering this teenage world to teenagers, and adults all around are going, I'm not sure about this. This seems a bit weird. Isn't it a bit Lolita? And I'm like, yeah, but the person who makes it Lolita is the grown man, not the girl. Right. And that's the bit that kind of dogs her kind of throughout her career. And it starts with that. And it's because adults, grown-ups, are looking at that video in a different way, I would say.
I mean, everything you said, of course, I wrote it, so I 100% agree with it.
Yeah,
but,
man.
Yeah. But I mean, you and I both know that time period in terms of if you turn on MTV, I mean, you have the thong song, you have, we don't even see women's faces. You see their butts like shaking in your face if you turn it on. So, you think that people should have been embracing, the parents should be like, oh my gosh, this Britney is fantastic. It's something like that. And as a teenage girl, you don't think, oh, I'm going to be a Lolita. Yeah. Like you said, that word, I only learned what that was when I was getting my master's degree. I didn't even know what that was, So these terms and ideas are thrown around by marketing people and by, like you said, grown-ups. They're not children that are coming up with these ideas. And that makes it even more creepy. I mean, I'm one of those people. I remember when I was probably 19, I was dating a 22-year-old, and I thought he was very worldly and old. And I only bring that up because the idea that a teenager is trying to appeal to a grown-up is just, it's not on. Like that is just, it's so, and yet the way it's accepted as normality and that's the truth. That's the weirdest part, Miranda, is when I was going back and reading the press from that time period, that nobody, myself included, I'm supposed to be the strong feminist woman from a liberal beach town. I wasn't questioning what was going on. That's the weirdest part about it, really.
Yeah. It is the era. There's one more point I want to make about the video, which is really funny. So at the time, she's going out with a guy called Reg Jones.
Yeah, I love this.
So Reg Jones is meant to play the boyfriend in the video, right? And basically, he has a massive row with Britney because she is about to go out as the kind of support act for NSYNC. And NSYNC includes Justin Timberlake, right? And Reg Jones gets the hump, basically. He doesn't want her knocking around with Justin Timberlake. He doesn't want her kind of, maybe flirting with him, stuff like that. So they have a huge row. And as a result, she fires him. From the video. I love this for Britney. She fires him. She's like, okay, see you later. And instead of him, she employs her cousin, Chad, who is a model for Abercrombie and Fitch. And he is the guy in the video.
Isn't it so good? I just love that. She's like, bye-bye. I don't need you, bruv. And the cousin's super hot as well. So, I mean, I can't remember what Reg looked like, but I mean, he was not the eye candy that the cousin
who does?
was. Yeah.
Who does, Jennifer?
Yeah.
That's
so well done, Britney. Again, casting decision. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Even that, I know, even that, like, people don't give her the credit for. It's almost like, I feel like I'm being negative. I'm not being negative. I'm more being, Britney's a badass. Like, that's basically the bottom line, in my opinion. Because
that video would not exist. It would not be anywhere near as good. It's her concept. Yes. She executes it. She even chooses the high street boyfriend, in it. She does it all, pretty much.
She captures exactly like the teenage dream by having him in it. And again, that eye for what, not to quote Christina, what a girl wants, what a girl needs. Britney is eye of the tiger on that.
Okay, let's rewind, shall we? Let's give a bit of a flavour of Britney's 90s, right? Because we don't know about her. Well, I don't know about her until she comes around in 99. But actually, all the way through the 90s, pretty much, she's been working really hard, hasn't she? She's like a preternaturally talented singer and dancer, but also she works really, really hard, doesn't she? Where does she start? Where would you pinpoint it? I
mean, for me, really, the part where she comes into more national attention, we did a show called Star Search.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if it was syndicated in the UK, but it had best comedian, best model, best singer, best child singer. And that's where she gets her first start, is on Star Search. That's where she first comes to national attention.
And she is 10.
and she is 10 years old, and you watch it and you're just like, oh my gosh. Like she has, I think people do not understand what a powerful voice Britney has. She has a fantastic voice and presence, even at that age. And again, you and I are talking about how she was with Max Martin, the way that she could interact with adults. The host of that is a man named Ed McMahon, who was a very, very well beloved TV host. And he's probably old enough to be her grandfather. And he's almost flirting with her on the show. And she handles it with aplomb and class, even as a 10-year-old, instead of being creeped out like all of us are watching it now. She's just a class act. And I think that is something she carries through the whole way. But you really see that beginning foundation of just being unflappable at that very, very first national TV thing with Star Search.
It's amazing. I mean, again, this is from your book, but what he says, and I've actually watched this video. He's pretty grim, I have to say. He's 69, and he basically says to Britney that he's noticed her adorable, pretty eyes. He asks her if she's got a boyfriend. She's 10. She's 10. And she says, no, sir. And he says, why not? Right? And then because she's kind of Britney and able to carry on the conversation, she says, because they're mean, which is like, again, what she's doing is shutting down this conversation at all times. And he then says, maybe I would be a suitable boyfriend. Like, he's 69. It's just like...
I wrote this Britney book right off the back of writing a book about Nico from the Velvet Underground, and you're bringing up all my rage again about the way she was treated. Because it's so shocking. It's so shocking the way that people, and it's like, oh, that's just normal. That's just the way it is. I mean, I can't imagine someone saying, the fact she didn't punch him in the face is absolutely such a credit to her. But yeah, it's beyond cringe. It's so inappropriate.
So horrible.
And also, it sets that line though of like, yeah, boys are mean. It's just this horrible foreshadowing for what's to come. And I mean, I am, of course, like giving the hindsight to it. Yeah. But it does, like you just reading that, it was just giving me the chills, not being funny.
Yeah, it's true. Okay, shall we talk also about Mickey Mouse Club? Because she ends up on Mickey Mouse Club, but the first time she auditions for it, she's like 8. Is that right? 8 or 9?
She goes on the audition and she's too young to have the minimal age to be on the Mickey Mouse Club. And so the producer is just like, keep in touch, and gives her and her mom, bye-bye.
She gets 10 from everybody, and they're a bit like, yeah, but she's like 8.
Yeah. Everybody loved her, but they just thought she was too young to be able to handle the pressure of it all and the schedule. So she and her mom end up going to New York, and she does some theater work in New York. And then she gets called back in to be in the Mickey Mouse Club. And this is the second coming of the Mickey Mouse Club. Of course, there's the first one when Disneyland first opens with Annette Funicello. And the only reason I bring that up is because you have the Mickey Mouse Club is fabulous.
And this is like a different order, like it's 70s, is it? Or
yeah. It's probably like late 60s, early 70s, is that kind of thing. And I mean, we have a Grease connection because Annette Funicello is referenced in Grease. He says something about like jugs like Annette, like her boobs, right? And the reason I bring that up is because the Mickey Mouse Club is for tweens for the most part. That's the audience they're trying to have, and that's the audience of the performers. So these kids are kind of held. So when Britney finally does become a Mouseketeer, she's on if you have the cable channel for Disney, she's now has, again, a national audience, but it is just like it was with the first round of Mouseketeers with Annette Funicello. It is these kids growing up in front of the cameras. And how do you navigate that as a producer or director, but also as a kid growing up in that? That's
very
another
much so
thing.
As a kid.
Yeah.
So she is cast for the last 2 kind of series of the all-new Mickey Mouse Club. If you were to describe that show to people who've not seen it, what is it like?
Ooh.
There's a lot of singing and dancing in it, right?
Lots of singing and dancing. It'd be like Fame. These are like all American examples. You can tell them from the US.
Fame we know. Fame we know and love.
Okay, yeah. It'd be like Fame, but for kids with really, really cheesy like scripts. And I'm trying not to say pornography in terms of how bad the scripts and the scenarios are. But it's just kind of silly, and it's not deep at all. But there is a lot of singing and dancing, a lot of covering the hits of the time or songs that you know. And from her particular class, if you would, of Mouseketeers, you get Justin Timberlake, Christina Aguilera, oh goodness, what's his name?
Ryan Gosling.
Ryan Gosling. So there's tons of people that come out of it. And I think, again, it is that one of the things that she talks about is just the discipline of being there. It's being on a lot all day long. It's nonstop. It's nonstop practice. It is perfection. And it is a bit of a pressure cooker in terms of even at that young age, it's the egos, the stage moms, there's all these personalities floating around that she's learning to navigate before she can even drive.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's out, like it comes out Monday to Thursday. So that's like 4 times a week at 5:30. There's 12 million children watching it, 7 million adults. What it reminds me a little bit now is of K-pop. You know, that thing of like training kids, and then once they get above, like in inverted commas, you know, once they get above a kind of child age, so once they turn into a teenager, really, they kind of have to be kicked off because they become, inverted commas, too adult. It has to stay like young, you know?
Yeah. And I mean, do you remember the band Menudo? It's kind of that Menudo vibe. Like you can come in at 12 and you're out by the time like you're 16 or you're 17. Bye-bye.
Sorry,
see you later. But I mean, the thing that, again, it goes back to, I'm making this so cultural studies, I'm sorry. But I think the thing about that has to be acknowledged is there are those two audiences that you just said. There's the adult audience and then there's the kid audience. So for a kid, it's great to see someone growing up, being awkward, having to wear a bra for the first, all those kind of, for the first time, all those kind of things that we go through as we, you know, go through puberty. But then there's that also the adult gaze in terms of we kind of like that titillation of a girl specifically, I would say, on the brink of womanhood.
It's a very strange, it's a strange thing. I also feel like we should talk a little bit about her family. So you mentioned the fact that Britney's mum took her to loads and loads of auditions. And I think it's interesting where she comes from, meaning that she's a Southern American girl. And that's really important, isn't it? Like, what's the reputation of being a Southern America, Southern of the United States of America? What does that mean, the South?
How much time do we have on this? Because this could be like the next 2 hours. I mean, it is such a huge part because we don't have class per se in the same kind of structure that has been in the UK. But in this particular case, it's working class. So she comes from working class. So that would be in America, non-educated. And then she also comes from the South. So it's very, if you live in, let me put it this way, if you live on the two coasts, East Coast, California, like if I say I'm from New York, without you even been to America, you know exactly what that is. It's someone that's fast talking, someone that's like, bang, 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 going to get stuff done. If you're from California, you may not shave your armpits. You definitely,
you know what surfing is.
Yeah. You know what surfing is. Your mom made homemade yogurt, like all those kind of things. In my particular hometown, marijuana has been legal since 1983. The South is a completely different world from that. It's tradition. It is much more of a patriarchy vibe, like the man of the house, the woman, yes, sir, no, sir, lots of reverence for elders, lots of reverence for men.
It's Christian as well, isn't it?
Very, very Christian. They don't call it the Bible Belt for nothing, Miranda. So the thing about this that's hugely important, and it happens after the 90s, but these are the things that people love about Britney, because California and New York, extremely aspirational places to be. And if Britney is pretty much, it seems, plucked out of nowhere from literally being in the South. She's plucked out of nowhere. And then, first on the Mickey Mouse Club, and then this huge international global fame. It is the American dream come to fruition. And it just makes you think, I can also come from no advantages, come from a small town, not have to have, people put so much into, if you have a university education, that's going to open the door. Not everybody has the means or the desire for that. And she shows that you don't need that. You just need to have the chutzpah and the work ethic.
Yeah.
And that American dream, that's something America has sold all over the world.
Yeah. And there's a kind of innocence around it, isn't there? Like if I think of New York or California, there's a sophistication around there. And
especially me, Miranda. You look at me and you're just like, this is it. No, but
you know
I
what
agree.
I mean? There's a worldliness around it, maybe, and that like with the Southern States, it's absolutely not a worldliness, and that's something that Britney carries with her. She doesn't seem that worldly, and that is something that is celebrated in her in inverted commas innocence, although the fact that we've already discussed that she might be innocent in certain things, but she's not innocent in her job. She knows how to do her job. Like, she's really, really good, but that is kind of seen as an advantage, and then later on absolutely used against her, in various ways.
Exactly. And I mean, you can outrun. I always say this about myself, like, you can outrun and move, but you're always still that same person, as obvious as it is.
Yeah.
And I think it is that when I say homely, in America, homely means you're not very attractive. In this particular case, I mean it more in the English way, like that relatable, comfortable feeling about Britney, that she is just one of us. That is something that, like you said, I think connects with fans. And to some degree, I think early on, there is definitely a parental contingent that likes Britney because of that. She's a good Christian girl. She's a virgin. She encapsulates all the things that you want your young, and the cover of the first record, we've not talked about that. The cover of the first record is her very sweet and innocent. She's wearing like a white tank top. It's baggy. It's not, no breastises are on show. She has like a red kind of button down shirt and a jean skirt. I mean, she is the babysitter you want coming over to watch your kids.
Yeah.
So it's something safe to give the kids, and then backed up with all these other things. It goes to church, and she has the same values that you do. So it makes her, it is part of the marketing, I would say, as well. But I also think it is genuinely a huge part of who Britney is.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we thought like her immediate family, basically her mum is the person that takes her to lots of different auditions. She takes her to New York and stuff like that. Her dad moves out quite early, and he is an alcoholic who eventually goes to rehab in 2004. But I mean, I think previously to that, it was a difficult situation. It was difficult having him around, and he comes back into her life, later on in maybe a bit of a kind of difficult way. We can talk about that very briefly, but it's not in the 90s.
Yeah,
but like it's not necessarily as easy as we might think. Yeah,
it's a very tumultuous relationship. And I think I say we, I'm not putting you in this. I'm just saying, as Americans especially, we still are obsessed with the family unit being a mom and a dad, and they're married and everything's happy and wonderful, happy clappy, especially because, she has a brother. And these things only really come out, the cracks in that facade only really come out later on, because it is such a fabulous, perfect unit to look at and believe. And, she said like her mom is her best friend, all these kind of things. But when you start kind of digging and thinking about it, with him being an alcoholic, him moving out when she's a kid for a part of her adolescence, you have to kind of wonder, like, does she trust men, or how did that play out in like her larger psyche? And the fact that she even said that to Ed McMahon as an innocent child, I think you have to kind of go, okay, like there is definitely something going on there.
Yeah, boys, I mean, okay, there's two categories I got here, which I think you may laugh, but I genuinely want to talk about.
Right.
And the titles are tits and virginity. Right.
Okay,
and
Those favorite topics of mine. Yeah.
And I want to talk about those because I had completely forgotten this, maybe had passed me by. But when Britney first comes along and she does Hit Me Baby One More Time, and she does her video, that's who she is. And then her third single is You Drive Me Crazy. And everybody, or not everybody, certain people pick on the fact that she seems that her cleavage has grown, basically. And there is a huge, huge discussion about this. Like, basically the discussion is, did she get implants? It's unbelievable. She's so young. And like what she says herself was she took photos when she was first signed to the record label. She weighed like 105 pounds. I don't know what that means, but 100. And then she says, I weigh 130 now. I went through a growth spurt. Basically what she says is she put on a bit of weight as she matured, and therefore her breasts grew. It is a topic of conversation amongst an unbelievable amount of interviews, a press. It's unbelievable. I was really shocked to read it,
When you went back and looked at it, I keep saying this, it's boring to say again and again, but when it was going on, you're just like, oh yeah, of course we're going to ask that. And that's the thing. It's just like people just asking first of all, they think it's okay that her body is public property to be picked over and discussed. Like she is literally like a Thanksgiving turkey, in terms of, I want the drumstick, I want the breast, literally like she's that, like it is public property. It has nothing to do with it being personal to her or that whole, like you said, like my boobs like popped out overnight. And I was like, what the fuck's going on here? So I that probably is similar to what happened to her. And the fact that it was totally acceptable to discuss it, and that she was asked to keep a straight face and not punch people and talk about it like she was talking about a single that she had made. That is the most absolutely shocking part to it. And if you went into, I mean, again, this is early internet days. You would see people writing, like this would be just pages and pages on the internet when I was going back and looking at it, of people discussing it, dissecting it, saying like, well, on this video shoot, her breast didn't look that big. And then, like 2 weeks later, and then I think there's a point where she was on crutches for an accident that she had, and different people were like, oh, that's when she had these breasts, the implants put in.
Yeah.
It was just so crazy. I'm not making it sound as crazy as it was. It was so crazy. But
absolutely. It's absolutely astonishing. At one point she's on a telly show in Holland. And
oh my God, Miranda. Oh my God. PTSD. Yes, this is horrendous. Yes.
And this journalist, Ivo Neer here, I think, basically he's like middle-aged, she's balding. He turns her, she is 17, and says, there's one subject we didn't discuss. Everyone's talking about it. Your breasts. What the actual fuck?
I know.
What is this? And she has to talk about it to him in front of an audience. It's just it's just terrible. It's making my hands go all sweaty.
Right?
It's so awful.
It's so awful. And I mean, I don't know how you were, but I was mortified. Like when I was, again, writing the book, I was just so mortified for this poor kid because I remember when I had to first wear a bra, I was mortified. And it is that weird thing of, yes, you want to look cool and sexy. You're not even using the word sexy. You don't have that vocabulary. You want to look cute and like boys your age to have attention. But for other people, especially grown-ups, oh my God. I remember my mom taking me bra shopping. I didn't want any grown-ups to know that I had a bra. No one to know. Yeah. And so the fact that she's being asked to talk about this over and over again with strangers, people in other countries, men old enough to be her grandparents.
In front of an audience. What is this? Oh my God.
And she's so classy about it. That's the craziest thing. She doesn't say, what? Why is some ancient old creature like you staring at my boobs?
Yeah, or people, or her people don't just go, okay, we're taking her away now.
Right.
That doesn't happen. Okay. Yes. So my other crosshead was virginity.
Oh,
this is unbelievable. Right. So you described the school that she went to, which is called McCombs Park Lane Academy. And part of this school that she went to, it's an era of a movement called True Love Waits.
Oh, yes. I have so much to say about this. Yeah.
Okay, so True Love Waits is founded in 1992, and it's basically got one goal, and its goal is to convince young people to basically not have sex before marriage. And in fact, they have to sign a pledge or something. It's so mad. They have to sign this pledge that says, believing that true love waits, I make a commitment to God, myself, my family, my friends, my future mate, and my future children to be sexually abstinent from this day until the day I enter a biblical marriage relationship. What?
I mean, it just reminds me of these music contracts you read where the artist signs away their rights for every single galaxy, Milky Way and beyond, doesn't it? For infinity. I mean, the thing too that you have to put into this mix here is this is coming in the heyday of AIDS. And the reason I bring that up is because still to this day, my friends and I talk about, we were terrified. I mean, I'm slightly older than Britney. We were terrified to have sex. I was brought up in the Catholic Church. I remember in high school, the cock would be coming towards my vagina, and I was like, this is high school boys. One, I was terrified of AIDS. I was so scared. We didn't know what caused it. We didn't know what it was. And two was the fire and brimstone of the Catholic Church. And if you think can you imagine signing that pledge as a kid? You're going to be thinking about that when someone, I mean, I'm flashing back to all these things as, like the first time a guy touched your boob is the first time a guy grabs your ass. All these things for me as a Catholic, I was just like, I'm sinning. And if you'd actually signed a pledge like that, I mean, you would just feel so weird and bizarre about sex.
Yeah, yeah. And then it's also obviously that is kind of taken further with Britney, because people start obsessing about the fact that she says that, she says, I have not, basically, like she says, I haven't had sex. And it becomes a kind of huge deal. There is a guy in 2000, but I think we can include it in the 90s. This unnamed businessman contacts her record company and offers £7.5 million in exchange for Britney's virginity. I mean, it's what?
I do it for less personally. I would have done it for like, $2,000 if you would ask me, but pay off my student loans. No.
But yeah, supposedly it's something to do with Howard Stern. But Britney, again, is unbelievably classy about it. She says it's a disgusting offer. He should go and have a cold shower and leave me alone. It's outrageous how a man like that can offer something which is totally unacceptable. Correct, Britney. Absolutely correct.
And again, this was another topic that was constantly talked about. It wasn't just one interview or two interviews. Every single interview talked about it.
Yeah.
Every single one. And I think off the back of that, I mean, this is not for the 90s, but you have this whole purity ring thing where you have this kind of whole crop of people that come after Britney they don't say Britney is a slag, but they basically are like wearing this purity ring. Like we have someone named Jordan Sparks, for example, Miley Cyrus, people that want to be huge stars are like, I'm saving it for when I'm married. And it's a complete reaction to people feeling let down when Britney finally does say, I did have sex with Justin. Actually, she doesn't say she had sex with Justin.
Justin says it.
Yeah, Justin goes on a radio show and was like, I'm the one that like popped the cherry, like a complete and utter jackass. Yeah. Horrible. But where I'm going with that is that the women don't even gather around her and say, you know what? We're all like sexual beings. They are more like throw her out and use her as an example of what not to do. Yeah,
it's a very an American reaction. I think that in Britain, we were all a bit like, I just don't really, and like it might have been, there may have been jokes about it, but we were really like, there was no true love waits. There was no kind of like weird chastity rings. These things didn't really occur in Britain because I think perhaps the church isn't so strong as it is perhaps in the south of America, But it was still, to me, the absolutely ridiculous thing is the fact that it's still discussed in columns and interviews.
And one thing that you touched on this earlier, you were talking about the South, and that is even now there exists in America, and it definitely was in Britney. Americans are both completely salivating and salacious, and they want more boobs, they want more tits, they want dirty as possible. But then the flip side, it is the whole virgin whore thing is massive. I mean, when I first moved here, I was like, oh my God, that's a flaccid, uncircumcised penis on after night. I mean, I'd never even seen an uncircumcised penis in real life. So to see it on TV was very exciting. But the fact that this is on television here, I mean, that would never happen in America. So we have this obsession with both being pure but also being as dirty as possible.
We want to celebrate Britney. She does very, very well, like with all these different kind of influences and difficulties. And we are stopping at the 90s. We're not going into the 2000s where she has all sorts of real tough times. She literally has a breakdown. She has all sorts of tough times around her relationships, or even, as recently as the last couple of years where she's trying to become more independent from her family, all these kind of things. I think it's nice almost to stop like when she first comes out because she's so good. And she carries on being good, to be honest. She carries on being a really brilliant pop star for a really long while. But the thing that she does when she first comes along, that is a brilliant pop song, absolutely amazingly performed by an exceptionally talented and disciplined young woman. She is completely superb, isn't she?
I could not agree more. And I think the thing that we have to remember about Britney is she sets the tone for what a pop star can be. And you could say Madonna does it, these other people do it, but Britney does it in a way that nobody has done before or since, not even Taylor Swift. There would not be Taylor Swift without Britney Spears. Britney is authentic. She is herself, and she's a fantastic businesswoman. And we see that, like we're talking about, from these very early iterations, whether she's in the studio, whether it's her being able to pick out dance moves. And she goes on, of course, to have, like, she basically revives and creates a whole economy in Vegas. She has the best-selling perfume still ever. A bottle of Britney Spears perfume is sold every 14 seconds still, Miranda.
Wow.
You have these kind of huge victories that 90s period really sets the foundation for. Yeah. And these are things she should be celebrated for and really kind of put on a pedestal for, I believe.
Absolutely. Plus she releases Toxic. I'm sorry.
Oh. I was just going to say, we cannot forget the music. The music is so fantastic. In the 90s, she puts out her stall. And even through, I love it all. I love Give Me More. Britney, Work Bitch is one of my theme songs. She is the whole canon of Britney is fantastic.
Yeah, it really is. Okay, so here at Talk 90s to Me, we have a Spotify playlist for everybody who loves 90s music, and that includes you, of course, Jen. Which track would you like to add?
I have so many because this is my era. It could be Rocket from the Crypt from America. It could be No Doubt, which I feel really bad I didn't say No Doubt, who are my dear, dear friends. But I'm going to say I'm one of the controversial perhaps now, but Last of the Famous International Playboys by Morrissey. And
great track.
Yeah, fantastic track. And people say in a cheesy way, oh, music saved my life. I would have killed myself numerous times, honestly, if it was not for the Smiths. It is the most important band, more important than God. The only thing that could be more important is my dog, Woody. Everything else pales in comparison for my love for the Smiths. And when I first moved to San Francisco after going to college, Miranda, there's nowhere to listen to this music in America. Even in California, there's nowhere to listen to British music. And one of my boyfriend at the time, he started a club called Pop Scene.
Amazing.
And they would play British music. And it started off being once a month. So all month long, you would plan, what is your outfit you're going to wear to Pop Scene? And we would dress. It was not like fancy dress. We wanted to dress like British people. Basically, I wanted to be you, and I still do, Miranda.
I don't know that you'd want me to be me in the 90s.
You probably dress much better. I would always wear white eyeshadow because that's what British people wore. And we would go. And I just remember the first time I heard this song, Last of the Famous International Playboys, loud in a dark club. It was magical. Hearing North Side, Take 5, hearing, literally. And I'd make my boyfriend play that all the time for me. And nobody else liked that one but me, but
Okay, that is a great choice. However, Tom's just looked it up and it's 1989, so you can't have it.
Okay, I'm going to go with a different song. I'm going to go with Just a Girl by No Doubt.
Okay, great.
And the reason I choose this song is because I was super into ska and two-tone when I was younger growing up. And one of my first things I did, Miranda, when I was 16, I started putting on shows in my hometown of Santa Cruz. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And there was this band called No Doubt that was super into ska and vintage clothing like I was. And I'd come and book them. And when they got massively huge, I can't only describe it as it's like your best friend you grew up with has kind of carried the dream that you all wanted to happen. And that's what it was like. They are I'm still very, very close with Tom, who's the guitar player. They're about to play the Sphere in Vegas. They have, I think, 6 weeks of sold out shows, and nobody deserves it more. And Just a Girl, I think, is just the epitome of that time period.
Yeah, it's a great track. That's a brilliant choice. Okay, that was Talk 90s to Me, featuring the amazing Jennifer Otter Bickerdike, author of fantastic books such as Being Britney, which we have discussed pretty much, Eternal Flame, which is about the Bangles, Bunnyman, which is with Will Sargent from Echo and the Bunnymen, plus her great new one with Mike Joyce of the Smiths called The Drums, and is about his life with the Smiths. I would particularly like to recommend You Are Beautiful and You Are Alone, which is her biography of Nico. It's fantastic. Okay, for any American listeners, Jen has organised a new festival in Santa Cruz with, I'm sorry, I'll do a drum roll if I could, Corey Feldman. Please explain Corey Feldman coming to your festival. What is happening?
Okay, so long story short is the hometown I grew up in is now, it was very Point Break, very beachy, cheap when I was growing up. And now it's the most expensive rental market in America because of its proximity to Silicon Valley. And because music was so important to me growing up and still is, I really wanted to do something for the community. So me and my other friend Matthew, who lives in Santa Cruz, we started this thing called Legends Live and Local, where we pair iconic musicians with local artists, and local artist is mentored for the day by the icon, and then they play a show in the evening.
Brilliant.
And Matthew and I were writing a list of who we wanted to do it. I had Jane Weedland, who's a good friend of mine. She did from the Go-Go. She did the first one. And Matthew and I are both obsessed with the Lost Boys. I know it's 80s. I'm sorry, Miranda. Obsessed with the Lost Boys. I'm still mourning the loss of River Phoenix.
Fair enough.
Talk about 90s, from Stand By Me. So he and I were just like, oh my God, if we get Corey Feldman, it would be so insane. But like saying that is literally saying that I want Damon Albarn to go on a date with me and have a triple gangbang with him and Jarvis Cocker. Like, it's just not going to happen. And so I found an email to Corey Feldman's manager. Like, I was in the deep dark, the dark web, and I fired off an email, and his manager responded to me saying he knew who I was. He knew my books. And I mean, it was a total clutch the pearls, because I was like, someone that knows Corey Feldman knows me. Like, I was so excited. So yeah, he's going to be coming to Santa Cruz. We are giving him the key to the city. It's going to be declared Corey Feldman Day on March 6th in Santa Cruz. Yes, it is. We're then doing an in conversation with him, which I can't. I mean, I'm 6 feet tall, Miranda. I think Corey's about 5'5". So it's going to be. I'm thinking about wearing some really big heels and just carrying him on my back onto the stage, kind of like. You know how Luke Skywalker carries Yoda around? It'd be like one of those vibes. And then he's going to play 4 Beatles songs. Now,
Amazing.
I think I didn't tell you this. I bring the heat, I bring the funk. The backing band is a band called the Lost Boys. And of course, the Lost Boys was shot in Santa Cruz.
So
they're going to do 4 Beatles songs, and then they're going to do some songs from the Lost Boys with the Lost Boys.
This is just great. I mean, if I was, in America, which obviously I am not, I would be there. So any American listeners had better rush over there, hadn't they?
It's gonna be so amazing. I cannot wait. I mean, I can't wait. I mean, it's, you and I have worked with lots of celebrities. You are a celebrity, but this is one that I have no idea how it's gonna go, except I know I will be probably calling you the next day afterward. Yeah. I mean, like, girl. That's all I have to say.
Okay. Fantastic. Okay. If you join our Patreon, not only when you get the chance to buy some very cute merch, including You Knew It, Talk 90s to Me bucket hats, you'll also get some special extra episodes where I'll go in depth on some mad details of that era and also chat about some stuff I've unearthed in my loft, which includes, oh yes, a pair of Pulp Do You Remember the First Time knickers. Unworn. Possibly worth a fortune. Who knows?
I'm so you know what sucks? When I moved to the UK, I just threw away tons and tons of stuff. I mean, what I would do to have the full pull over your head with dreadlocks Rob Zombie mask to wear in the bedroom, obviously. Got to keep it fresh, but like...
Okay. Anyway, even if you don't join our Patreon, why not subscribe to Talk 90s to Me on your podcast app and follow us on Instagram and Blue Sky for a laugh. Also, we're introducing an email so you can tell us what you think, what you love, what you don't love, what you would like us to feature on the show. That email is talk90stome, spelled exactly how you imagine, with the numbers 9 and 0, at podmasters.co.uk. Okay, see you next week.